Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been handed an urgent breaking news story, and I need all of you to stop what you are doing and listen. The Sacramento Kings pick is in.
Oh my God, this is crazy, dude. Davion Mitchell to the Sacramento Kings at number 9.
Oh, man.
This guy is a defensive stud. I know we talked about all last season, the Sacramento Kings need defense.
Man.
What's up, Kings fans? We're here. We're drinking beers. And we're talking about your Sacramento Kings. Welcome to the Royal Rebounds TV podcast. I hope you guys had a wonderful time today watching the NBA draft. We did go live. We were live, our first time ever, watching the first 10 picks of the NBA draft. We did give away the winner to the Marvin Bagley ball giveaway.
That's right. Congratulations, Flame Fury 11. If you weren't watching during the ball giveaway on the live draft show, just get in contact with us on Instagram, DM us at Royal Rebounds, and send us your contact information, and we would be happy to send you the ball.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
An awesome ball it will be, and it will look nice. Hopefully in your Kings castle, you have a shelf with multiple autographed Kings memorabilia and all those things Kings.
All those things, Kings.
All right, so we're just going to jump right in today to the NBA draft.
Big day, big news.
Huge day. Russell Westbrook has been traded to the LA Lakers. The Kings got swooped again on this one, huh?
Yeah, if you have been working or living under a rock or whatever the case may be and you haven't been paying attention to the draft, the Kings had a deal in place with the Lakers that would send Buddy Hield to Los Angeles for Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and potentially the 22nd overall pick. It got squashed because the Wizards stepped in and offered Russell Westbrook for the exact same deal plus Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
To match salary. Buddy Hield is officially worth what a former MVP, Mr. Triple-Double, is worth in the current NBA.
Well, not quite. He's worth what that MVP is plus Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
Plus a DUI. Perfect.
Or minus Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
Crazy. So there was a few changes on the proposed draft order. We had a trade. Number 10 was traded to 17. And then we had some mix-ups starting with like pick number 4. I know you and I both talked about how the first 4 were pretty solidified. We knew Jalen Suggs was going forward to Toronto.
To me,
and then all of a sudden,
the most obvious pick in the draft was Jalen Suggs to Toronto. And they went with Scotty Barnes, forward out of Florida State instead. I'm beyond surprised. They obviously really, really like Scotty Barnes. But man, Orlando got super, super lucky. Super lucky.
All I can say is Toronto played a ton of games in Florida this season because that was their home. So they probably watched a ton of Scotty Barnes.
You know, a lot of surprises in the draft. And the Kings were one of those teams that was a big surprise pick at number 9.
Yeah, many people thought the Kings were going to end up trading this pick. It'd been mentioned that Buddy Hield might be traded. Maybe Marvin Bagley was going to be traded. A lot of teams had reached out about Harrison Barnes. We heard Ben Simmons was going to be traded today. None of those things have happened so far.
Yet.
So, Cal and I were watching the first few picks. Everything went as planned. Curveball at pick 4 with Toronto.
Curveball at pick 6.
That kind of set up, some confusion and just kind of some just unexpected things that could happen. And then the Kings shocked the world with pick number 9.
They shocked the world. I'm still digesting this pick. I'm still processing it, trying to figure out how I feel about it. I love Davion Mitchell as a player.
Great player.
I think he is going to be a tremendous pro. The one thing that I have said, that we have said repeatedly for the last year and a half, is that they need defense.
Yep.
That's the number one thing they need. They got one of the best defensive players in the entire draft with this pick. How is he going to fit into this team? I said this last year with Tyrese Haliburton, and I admit I was wrong. But what do they say? Two's company, three's a crowd. It's getting very crowded in that backcourt.
Can't play defense on the bench.
You cannot play defense on the bench.
Yeah, I know. There's been some talks about the fit here, and I guess Baylor played a ton of 3-guard sets this season.
They did.
So there is some hope that maybe these 3 guys can play together. And, I'm all in to try. 15 years of losing, you got to try new things. I'm all in to try,
too. And, I don't think Davion Mitchell is necessarily going to play a starter's role here in his rookie season. I don't think that's the plan anyway. If the plan is to keep him long term, who knows? This pick makes a lot of sense. If you're going to play Fox, Haliburton, and Mitchell together, it's a great defensive lineup. It's a really fast team, really athletic team, good shooting team. But, man, they're small. They're giving up a lot of height with those 3 guys in the lineup together.
Yeah, they are.
Can Fox guard threes in this league?
I mean, Evan Mobley was my number 1 in this draft because of his defense ability.
Yeah.
I love Davion Mitchell. Great defender. I feel like he's kind of like a Gary Payton type guy. But he is really small. And how's he going to fit on the court with 2 other guards? He's not going to be able to guard a small forward. Not at 6'1", 6'2".
No. He can guard bigger players. You look at the film when Baylor played Oklahoma State this year, Davion Mitchell was matched up against Cade Cunningham a lot on the perimeter. And he did a great job against him. LeBron James is another story, though. I'm not saying you're going to ask Davion Mitchell to guard LeBron James. That's not going to happen. But it's a very interesting dynamic that they've got with this team right now. Not to mention there's all these question marks still. Is Rashawn Holmes coming back?
Yep.
Is Marvin Bagley going to be on the team? Is Buddy Hield going to be on the team? So I think this was definitely another best available pick in Monty McNair's eyes, and it's not a bad pick. It's not a bad pick. How it all works out in terms of long term, I don't know. That's still to be determined.
I think they definitely had their minds on making some trades today, and it seems like those kind of fell through. And as we had mentioned, best available was the backup plan. So they got best available at 9. I don't think that's a bad thing, but it does open up a lot more questions for me. For instance, Buddy Hield. He's also a guard. Buddy Hield's not going to play the 4. No. He can't even play the 3.
No.
If you're going to have Davion Mitchell out there, and everyone's talking about how this is the deepest draft or the best draft since 2003. So if that's true, your number 9 pick is going to be a starter.
Most likely.
Most likely. So what does that mean for Buddy Hield? Because we know he doesn't like to come off the bench.
Forget Buddy Hield. What does that mean for Tyrese Haliburton and DeAaron Fox? What kind of message are you sending to those guys? And I'm sure they're going to say all the right things. We love Davion. We love his attitude, his work ethic. We're happy to have him. I don't know. I mean, there's so many questions that need to be answered. The one thing I will say, we haven't mentioned the Kings' second-round pick yet.
Not yet.
But with the 39th pick, they took a guy by, I'm probably going to mispronounce his name, but Nehemiah Queta, a center from Utah State.
3.3 blocks a game.
3.3 blocks a game. 2-time Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I love the attitude that the Kings had in the draft. their number one need by far is defense. And what do? They go out, they get a great defensive guard, maybe the best in the draft, and they get a great defensive big man.
Not to mention at the end
you can't ask for more than that.
Not to mention at the trade deadline last year, they brought in some defensive-oriented guys.
Yes.
They could also shoot. So that has been a definite point of focus for the Kings.
Now the question is, with free agency looming, how do you complete the roster? How do you fill it out? Are certain guys going to stay? Are certain guys going to go? What's the opening day roster going to be?
And as of right now, Richaun Holmes is looking for 4 years, $80 million, which the Kings cannot afford in their current state. So who do they trade to free up some cap space?
Right.
And by
and
trading
is this
a guy,
all part of a bigger plan.
And by trading a guy, you can't trade Marvin Bagley for another player to free up cap space. You got to trade him for future picks or stuff like that. Not somebody that's going to be able to compete now. But you could trade a guy like Buddy Hield or Harrison Barnes for a guy making maybe $10 million a year. You free up some cap space, and you have a guy that you can plug and play in your roster next year.
Yes, absolutely. So there's definitely a lot of questions still to be answered. But, I think people are going to be a little too quick to discredit Davion Mitchell at 9. It's a really, really solid pick.
He's a great player.
Great player. One of my favorite players in this draft. So how do you make it work after that is now the question.
Yeah, and you and I had both talked about last year, our favorite sets ending games last year were 3-guard sets, right? Where Corey Joseph was in there. And Corey Joseph is an undersized guard. He's a great defender. He can make some threes, but I got to think that Davion Mitchell has a much higher ceiling than Corey Joseph.
I would say Davion Mitchell is a better NBA player right now than Corey Joseph is.
That's hard to say at the moment, but there are a lot of people saying that he could be the best on-ball defender as soon as he steps on the court this season.
Like this guy, he's not just a defender. He's a phenomenal defender. But guy shot 43 or 44% from 3 last year. Really, really improved his outside shooting. He can create off the dribble, great in the pick and roll, more of a scorer's mentality, but he still averaged almost 5 assists a game or over 5 assists a game. He's a complete guard, very, very athletic guard. I really am high on him. So, Monty McNair, you got yourself quite an equation to solve right here.
Does this make a guy like Tyrese Haliburton expendable? Does it make him potentially available for a guy like Ben Simmons?
That's so tough.
Because if you have DeAaron Fox, Davion Mitchell, and Ben Simmons all on the same team, that is a great defensive start to your lineup.
Absolutely. That's a really difficult question to answer. Who would you rather have right now, Davion Mitchell or Tyrese Haliburton? I do know that if you got the possibility now to get Ben Simmons, that's a big thing for Sacramento. That could really change things for them. So I think it's worth at least listening, hearing out what it's going to take.
And God forbid De'Aaron Fox is available in a Ben Simmons trade. I know the salaries would match up better. You probably wouldn't have to give up as many other pieces. I'm not saying that's a good idea because I love
that
De'Aaron
one.
Fox.
I'm not doing.
I want De'Aaron Fox to be the future of the Kings. He wants to be in Sacramento. I want him to be here. But I'm just thinking from a GM's perspective, adding another guard. We have too many guards now.
True.
And the goal is to shift talent into other positions.
Yeah.
And having this guy opens up possibilities.
Yep.
And he's a great player.
What do you make of the fact that Davion Mitchell didn't work out with the Kings, yet he was the pick?
There's a lot of people have been talking about that and whether it was an agent decision or not, or maybe, Davion's competitiveness inside told him he wasn't going to fall that far, right? Maybe he thought that he was a top 5 pick or a top 7 pick because a lot of people have him in tier 1 or tier 2 of talent in this draft.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
And
Doug Christie had him 6th best overall.
Yeah.
In the whole draft.
And we had both talked about guys we saw going 4, 5, 6. Once that 4th pick hit, it kind of jumbled everything. And I feel like teams were kind of plan B, plan C, what's going to happen here? And maybe that helped Davion fall. Tyrese Haliburton fell, and he ended up being an awesome player for the Kings at 12. So I got to put my trust in Monte McNair. Unfortunately, it's 2 years in a row where we've had a botched trade right around draft.
Yep.
I want to start calling him Monte McNair a trade.
McNair a deal.
But I'm hoping we can make some moves before Tuesday.
Yeah, I think so. There's still plenty of time. And yeah, man, now the focus to me is all on Richaun Holmes. It's what is it gonna take to re-sign him, and what does that mean for the rest of the roster? Who's got to go? Who's got to stay? He to me is a very key part to this team. I think they really, really need to bring him back.
And I know DeLon Wright is signed for like another year or two.
He is. One more year, I think.
The Kings just made Terrence Davis a restricted free agent by offering him the qualifying offer.
Yep.
So that gives them the ability to match any offer during free agency.
Yep.
But now that they have Davion Mitchell, is their mindset changing? They got Fox. They got Haliburton. They got Mitchell. They got Heald.
Yeah.
They got DeLon Wright and Terrence Davis. Now that's 6 guys plugging in 2 spots.
It's hard to wrap your head around. I mean, it's not hard to wrap your head around from a talent perspective, from a best available pick perspective, but now that he's a King, it's like, where do we go from here? Sort of a thing.
I feel like Monty and company are kind of just in this, whatever we do, we got to add talent, either through the draft, through trades, through free agency, whatever we can. We need to add assets to this team. And there's going to become a point where they're going to compile these assets and try and trade for a guy like a Bradley Beal or a James Harden or a Ben Simmons. So maybe he didn't hit last year, maybe he didn't hit this year, but he's still compiling good players. You know, we didn't have Tyrese Haliburton before Monte McNair was here. He's brought in valuable pieces in Terrence Davis, DeLon Wright, maybe Davion Mitchell. Hopefully he will be a valuable asset to this team.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just adding on these guys. He's creating a competition within the team of guys that want to fight and make this roster. And then he's going to take the other guys and kind of shift them into assets at other positions.
Well, he's forced to do that now. I mean, you have to do something along those lines in this scenario. The devil's advocate in me is going to say, okay, last year, the draft class overall not nearly considered as strong as this year's class.
Mm-hmm.
Had the 12th pick, happened to get the guy who most people considered a top 5 player.
One of the best players
in that draft. Fall to them at 12. So, yeah, you take them. And it ended up it worked out great for them. In this case, yeah, you took maybe who you thought was the best available player at 9. But there were a lot of good, really good potential players available who could have fit this team a lot better. James Bouknight was on the board. Mm-hmm. Moses Moody was on the board. Guys like Kai Jones, the list goes on in terms of a very high potential ceiling player that would fit in with this roster right now much better.
Yep.
So only time is going to tell if this was a good move or not. But, I worry that they could have had somebody who would have made a better impact right away. And a better, not necessarily right away, but a better long-term impact than Davion Mitchell.
I mean, we saw a ton of movement in the draft. I know not in the top 10. There's only one pick traded.
Round picks, or 10 first-round trades.
One pick trade in the top 10. The other 9 were after that. So there was obviously a market for the Kings with pick 9. If they had wanted to make a trade, they probably could have done it. So it makes me feel that they have some confidence in this guy. And
rightfully so. I think you should have confidence in this guy. But have confidence in him in what long-term, respect? Where is he going to fit in 5 years from now? Are all 3 of those guys still on the team 5 years from now? Fox, Haliburton, and Mitchell. I don't know.
It kind of reminds me of a younger Denver Nuggets, where they're just adding pieces. It doesn't matter what position you play. We're just adding talent to the team.
Yep.
And it gets to a point where you do need to trade some of these guys, and you need to upgrade at positions. But I don't think we're there yet. So I think Monty's just slowly picking away, adding talent. I think he's doing his due diligence around the league, calling other teams, seeing who's available. Sounds now, unfortunately, like Bradley Beal is going to stay with the Washington Wizards.
Who knows? That could change.
Can't knock him for that. I love loyal superstars like that no matter what happens, they're loyal to their team, which is awesome. I appreciate DeAaron Fox. I feel like he's one of those guys,
Definitely.
or he will be one of those guys in the future. But it will be an exciting few days to see what the Kings do to help improve this roster.
It sure will. It was an exciting draft. It's still going now. We're doing this during the second round, but it was an exciting first round for sure.
Yeah. Want to thank you all for joining us on another podcast on Royal Rebounds TV. Thank you all for joining us on our live feed of the draft today. Congratulations to Flame Fury 11 for winning this Marvin Bagley autographed basketball. We will see you all soon, but in the meantime, thanks again and go Kings.
Go Kings.